Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and I'm currently driving a brand new Stage 1R 800 horsepower supercharged F-150. It has the Gen 6 Whipple 3-liter supercharger. It even has a sound tube, so under a quarter throttle, it sounds like this. That is insane. Traction is off. It is still in two-wheel drive high, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with it, but this video is gonna be the bonus driving impressions video, which is actually in part filmed before I do the full review of this, just because this truck is already a hoot. It sounds louder than the average Hellcat, and there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot that I wanna show you, and I don't want any of the newness and the excitement of this to wear off. And if you guys can even have a quarter of the fun that I'm having, please consider liking this video. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, I got this truck from my buddy Jake. He's a salesman at Goode Motor Ford, so he can build one of these for you, or if you like his enough, maybe he'd even consider selling it. I don't know, but I'll link him below if you're interested. Otherwise, let's see what it can do with half throttle now. Woo! This thing is insane. Holy cow. Partial throttle, that's really all you need before you're gonna have to switch this puppy over to a four-wheel drive. And if you are considering buying a Whipple Supercharged F-150, which weighs 4,000 pounds, it has a lot of horsepower for that low weight. That's better than most of the muscle cars, even better than something like a ZL1 Camaro before those went extinct. You are seriously gonna have four-wheel drive for this, because that is too much power on street tires. But what's cool about this is when you do pop it into four-wheel drive, as you're gonna see in just a minute, you actually can have a lot of fun. You can actually put the power down quite well. This one in Jake's testing has ran a high 3 seconds 0 to 60, and it's done a very low 12-second quarter mile, about 115 miles per hour. So this truck on private country roads, it's absolutely no slouch. In fact, let me show you what it does 0 to 60 right here. 0 to 60 on GPS. Keep in mind, we are over 3,000 feet above sea level, so it is gonna be down power a little bit. Four-wheel drive high, brake rev, let's see what it can do. Holy cow. With that sound tube, you can really hear the supercharger, and that was a lot of wheel hop. Not a perfect run, but a 4.12. And a little bit better density altitude, like what Jake ran this in a few days ago. It ran about 1/10 of a second faster in the high 3s. So this thing is no slouch. So very impressive, even running a 4.1 true time or in the 3s without rollout on my very first launch of this truck on what was my private road. Really impressive, and I'm sure at sea level on a drag strip, this thing is gonna be doing mid 3s. But if you do leave it in four-wheel drive high, you go down to maybe 30 and you stab the gas pedal. I'm curious to see what happens. This thing really hauls. Holy cow, does it pull a lot stronger than it feels like, because you are kind of removed from the situation. You're still in a truck with the front suspension being stock, so it is raised up quite a bit compared to the average sports car, and it really hits quite hard. But let me turn it back to two-wheel drive. The shift is in progress. And even just dabbing the gas pedal, it feels really light in the rear, and it feels like this thing is so easily gonna want to get sideways, which is kind of what this would be really fun at. It'd be really fun to take this to a drag strip, but also to like a rally course. If you could drop the suspension, if you could put some different wheels and tires on, maybe get rid of some of the body roll, stiffen up the chassis, you know, this would be such a good all-around street truck, and you could use it multi-purposely. Additionally, it has a payload capacity of nearly 2,000 pounds, so it actually is a functional truck. It's not like the Ford Lightning and the GMC Cyclone of the decades of the past. This thing is still very practical, so whether you're driving it through the country to do work with it, because it's a work truck, it's an XL. This is literally the definition of a work truck. Check out the interior. Check out the spray and bed-lined bed. It doesn't even have a bed cover. It doesn't have any fancy bits. This thing is ready to be worked, but it's also ready to play. It's ready to have some fun, especially on the weekend. And I'd love to know, guys, why are you watching this video? Are you interested in one of these? Do you have one of these? Do you want one of these like I do? What are your thoughts? What are your opinions of such a powerful, yet unstable, very entertaining, crazy 800 horsepower Stage 1R F-150. This thing is a hoot, but back to throttle, maybe half pedal. holy cow, does this get right up to speed. I will say the sound tube sounds fantastic in person. I don't know if that will start to feel like a lot. Maybe if you do put a lot of miles on this, you might want to reconsider that option. But initial impressions are, you start up the vehicle and you can hear a little bit of a blower noise, and as soon as you're on the gas, you can really hear a blower noise. This thing sounds beautiful. But how does it corner? Everything else basically still feels like a big truck. It does have a nice suspension. It does have a mild suspension adjustment where the rear 1-inch block has been removed, but overall it's a stock F-150 on some Ford Expedition wheels, actually, from a couple years ago. So it doesn't have the little steelies, it doesn't have the slightly upgraded ones you can pay for. This just has a Ford Expedition wheel, it's all factory components, and it's a hoot to drive. I'll be honest, I'm not necessarily sure where we're at with this driving impressions video. It's basically just a few clips of me having fun, including this one. I'm at a 4-way stop. There is no one around. Ooh, I'm in 4-wheel drive high, and it appears traction control is off, so why don't we roll into full throttle? Partial throttle, get past the intersection, full throttle. And this is just a $50,000 work truck? That is pretty darn impressive. It even comes off the gas and onto the brakes pretty well too. There's not a ton of nosedive. Overall, the acoustics in here, talking to it, it doesn't sound bad at all. There's not a lot of voice reflecting like there is on very glassy cars like Teslas that have the panoramic sunroofs and other vehicles. Overall, this just feels like a very well done, very buttoned down factory truck. And it is a little bit sketchy having that much power. You definitely have to be very wise and intelligent in when and how you display it, because if you get a heavy downshift, if you get the rear loose and you're not ready for it, you can so easily get into trouble. And if you don't have traction control off, I think you're going to be fighting the system. All the power is going to be fighting the electronics, and that's not going to be a very pleasant experience. So driving this with the traction control off probably is the best bet. But just cruising through the country where trucks are meant to live, very fun, very entertaining, but you do get to mix a little bit of your performance car enthusiasm into something like this. So if you don't want 2 different vehicles, but you need a truck, and you got maybe 12 grand burning a hole in your pocket, I absolutely think that this might be the right vehicle for you, or something that you should consider. So anyways, back to the other clips, and we'll see where we're at in this video. But ultimately, if you do just drive it sane, it does feel like a regular F-150, which I haven't driven a modern 14th generation F-150 regular cab before. I've driven 5 liters before, the EcoBoosts. I've even driven a big lifted Roush supercharged one and the Raptor R, but I haven't driven a regular cab. And just the balancing of this truck feels really good. I wish these were more popular. I wish Chevy would sell you a short bed, or at least the mild bed Silverado with the V8. You can only get the 5.3 V8, which is not as good of an engine as this in most modern senses. And even that is gonna cost you a little bit more in the 40s, but it's gonna be the long bed. It's not gonna be the race truck configuration that you might want. Dodge actually hasn't sold a Ram regular cab for, what, almost a decade now at this point. So Ford is really the last one. Kind of like they're the last ones to keep up with the pony cars, they are the last ones to keep up with a race truck like this. And kudos to them, because this is a really good one, and I think Ford has done a phenomenal job. But if you guys get anything out of this video, please consider liking it. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to know more of your thoughts, more of your opinions, and if you haven't driven one of these, I mean, I've waited a couple years to finally get my hands on one. So they're kind of hard to find, but they are absolutely worth it. This has been one of the funnest driving vehicles I have ever driven, maybe the funnest driving truck, period. But those are just my thoughts, those are my opinions. I appreciate you guys who are still listening. Like this video, comment your thoughts and opinions below. If you want one of these, check out Jake at Goode Motor Ford in Southern Idaho. And until next time, take care, guys.